Now here's a review of quiz 5. In problem 1, we were given the 5-number summary for that set of data. First thing we need to do is compute the interquartile range, IQR. So of those 5 numbers, the 6.676 was Q3 and the 1.660 was Q1. We find the difference, which is 5.016. Now, what we do with that is we compute Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. So plugging in 1.660 for Q1 and 5.016 for IQR, we get negative 5.864. Likewise, we have to compute Q3 plus 1.5 IQR, which is 6.676 plus 1.5 times 5.016, and that comes out to about 14.2. Now, once we've computed those two numbers, we look at our set of data. If anything is less than negative 5.864, it's an outlier on the low side. But of course, we didn't have any negative numbers. These are, after all, populations. So no outliers on the lower side. But on the upper side, there were 4 values that were greater than 14.2. All 4 of those would be considered outliers. Those are from 4 states with a very high population. Now, I'll skip over the box plot for that problem. I know the problems with trying to use technology to create box plots, and we'll avoid those on the test. But what you should expect on a test is something like problem 2, where you're shown a box plot and then asked questions about it. So this box plot is the percent of adult residents who smoke in each state, categorized by region of country. So you see the country's divided into 4 regions: Midwest, Northeast, South, and West. And then there's several states within each region. For each state, they compute a percentage for the percentage of residents in that state who smoke. So each region has several values, several quantitative values for its variable, and you can make a separate box plot for each region. So the first question is, in general, which region seems to have the highest percentage of smokers? What we're looking for is which box tends to be farthest to the right. And that looks to me like the South. So I would say the South tends to have the highest percentage of smokers. B, which region is the state with the highest percentage of smokers? Well, in the Midwest, there are 2 states that are extremely high, that have an extremely high percentage of smokers. Those are considered outliers, indicated by those 2 asterisks. So the Midwest is the region with that has the state with the highest percentage of smokers. Part C asks, which region has the greatest variability? On a box plot, variability corresponds to the width. So which of these box plots is most spread out? It looks like the one corresponding to the West. And D, do any of the regions have any outliers? Yes, as I've noted before, Midwest has 2 outliers. They look to be roughly at 27 and 29. Now for part E, it says the smoking rate is at least 20% in what percent of the Midwestern states? So here's what we'll do. We'll look up 20 on the horizontal axis because those numbers represent the percentage of smokers. I'll draw a vertical line above that. And you know that roughly coincides with the left edge of the box for the Midwest. That means it would coincide with the first quartile. Now, if we go back and read this, it says the smoking rate is at least 20%. So that means 20% or more. For the first quartile, 75% of the values would lie to the right. So the answer to part E would be 75%. Now for part F, it says the smoking rate is no more than blank percent in 75% of the southern states. Okay, so to say no more than 75% means that we want to find the third quartile for the southern states, meaning we're looking at the right edge of the box. So I've drawn a line corresponding to the right edge of the box for the southern states, and it's close to 25. So we would put in 25 in the blank for part F. The smoking rate is no more than 25% in 75% of the southern states. And finally, in part G, the smoking rate is no more than 25% in blank percent of the western states. This time, the 25% is a smoking rate. So we go to the horizontal axis. I'm keeping that line that I had because it corresponds to 25. And now we're looking at the box plot for the western states, and it shows that every single western state is 25% or less. So we would fill in that blank in part G by saying the smoking rate is no more than 25% in 100% of the western states.